Welcome, Kirsi.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me.
It's been a bit of time, isn't it, since we got together and had a chat. And I always love sharing your wisdom with the audience. It's interesting, actually, because I thought you'd be the ideal person to talk to about something that came up for me last week. For anyone who just hasn't heard from Kirsi before, she's a life coach, intuitive coach, working a lot with people on emotional regulation, I would say, that side of the work, the inner work, and also, building a purpose-led business, similar area to where I am these days. But I had a call with someone last week, and she was in a place where I meet a lot of people. She's a professional. She's feeling a bit stuck and frustrated with her current job situation, and also her relationship is not in a good place, not getting much support there, and generally feeling quite stuck in life. And as we went through all the challenges she's going through at the moment, and I really felt for her. I could tell she really was ready for a change, a new chapter, but didn't know where to start. And so obviously I was guided her on to how I help people in that situation. And something came up that I hadn't experienced before. I've had a lot of these calls over the last 5 years, as you can imagine. And generally people are open to the inner work. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is the inner work, why it's so important to not only our emotional state, but also to success in any area of life, really. Anyway, she came to the point where we started talking about the inner work, particularly meditation. And it just came up as like a hard no for her, just like meditation. No, not interested. Tried it before, didn't work for me. So the conversation ended basically because of this hard block she had about meditation and the fact that she just wasn't interested in it at all. And my program is basically based on inner work. That's what sets it apart from other programs. And for me, it's the most important aspect of my program, because we can't really make any change in our lives until we address the source of our reality, which is within. So I thought this was an important conversation, really, because this is what I see really is the missing piece for a lot of people, professionals and entrepreneurs, and why they get so stuck on the journey. But what would you say about that, Kirsi? I know you've had a lot of experience in this area, but would you agree with that also, the importance of the inner work, particularly when it comes to healing in entrepreneurship and general business success?
Yeah, I like what you said there, that the source itself is the inner existence that we have. And first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me on.
Pleasure.
And this is one of my favorite subjects, really. Inner work. I mean, I've been at it for decades, and
Mm.
since I started the inner work, which really did start with just quieting down, stopping, and acknowledging, what's in here, and spending time with that, and meditating. And there are different kinds of meditation. I think sometimes people may have, these connotations to meditation. They think it's some kind of a religious practice, or
Yes.
connected to, Buddhism only, or, things like that. And maybe they're afraid that it's something foreign, or it's going to take them to some other
Mm.
reality. But really what it is, it's I often call it stop, look, and listen. And stopping for yourself, looking within, and listening. And so that's what meditation to me is. And when we talk about entrepreneurship, when we talk about really anything, like you said, that's the very source. That's we could take a thing, and many have, and build it on the outside. But if we
Mm.
really study some successful people, they have this part. We don't see this part when they're doing the inner work, and they're working on their beliefs and their emotional patterns and thoughts. We don't see that part, but we see their success, and going for the success on the outside is going to look a little bit different. It's going to get different results, and maybe the sustainability is different, than when you're really working on the inside and building it from there on up. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's
exactly.
essential. It's the foundation.
Exactly. And that's why my programs, the first half is just inner work. The reason why I do that is because, I mean, I attended many programs in the past, and what I saw with entrepreneurs, people who were stepping into entrepreneurship, it was all about, let's learn about digital business, let's learn about values and passion and sales and all that kind of thing. But a lot of people struggle to get any results. And for me, that's because most people, if particularly a professional, you've worked in a corporate environment for the last 20 years, for example, most people are kind of filled up with conditioning and traumas about all kinds of things. And it's very hard to change your life for something different or better when you're filled up with all that energy from the past. And also, as soon as you start to change, you want to change your life for the better. It's not like that thing just drops in your lap in 6 months' time. Say you want to build a line business, provides you fulfillment and financial overflow, all those beautiful things, and freedom. That doesn't just happen in 6 months or a year. What happens is, for me, the universe says, right, if you want that, you're going to have to feel through all the stuff that's in the way, basically, which is all the trauma and conditioning from the past. And so what I see a lot is with entrepreneurs, it's like, it requires you to come out of your comfort zone, what you've known, basically. When you come out of your comfort zone, what you hit is that trauma, basically, all that trauma, all that conditioning. And people hit the edge of the comfort zone. They go, oh, that's uncomfortable. That's difficult. Obviously, this isn't the right path for me. And they go back to what's familiar. They go back to the comfort of the career. And then they try another business, and then they hit the same trauma and conditioning, and they bounce back, and they think, oh, that's too difficult. And so they're kind of bouncing in and out of the comfort zone the whole time with no way to actually break through. So I'm not saying there are successful entrepreneurs who manage to kind of override that discomfort, and they kind of push past with mindset, and they just do an action, do, and they break through, and they create a successful business, a life of external abundance, whatever that means, money and a huge business, or cars and houses, whatever it might be. But if you haven't done that healing work along the way, what I see a lot is that very wealthy people aren't particularly any happier on the other side of that. They may have created a beautiful, abundant life on the inside, on the outside, but inside, all those parts are still there. All the fear is still there. All the self-doubt, all the limiting beliefs, all the self-criticism is still there, even if they've created the amazing life and the amazing business. So I like what you said there. In order for it to be sustainable, in order for it to have a lasting change on the inside as well as the outside, you have to be doing this healing work alongside the external work of building the business. So for me, it's absolutely essential to have those two aspects if you really want to feel, not only want to have an amazing life on the outside, but you also want to feel fulfilled and abundant on the inside as well.
Yeah, and a lot of the measures of what we're talking about is also seen in the connection with the family. You can have a great business and be very successful, but it's somehow so disconnected from your personal life, like the success, that there's not real connection with the family, or there's struggles, or your family is seeing you only a fraction of the time because your business is taking all your life and all your efforts, and they only see you active in your business, and we all probably maybe know people like that, and the family's like, yeah, my dad, or my father, or my husband or wife in a different way than what I know them. And there's like this void, because those inner things, like you said, the landscape that they live in really internally has not been renovated. Is like two different things. So not over 90%, I guess, like over 95% of our existence, really, of our thoughts and emotions, they're on a repeat from the subconsciousness. So
Yeah.
we can create, a successful business. We have been able to create it. I don't even know if that's the future. I believe that the new era business is much more sustainable and wholesome
Yes.
from the inside out. And because we're getting more and more sensitive to the energetics and what's behind the action, you go to the store and you can feel the vibe, because I think we have just reached a certain point of building things on the outside. I mean, we have seen many, many businesses die. And I think that tells us something. Maybe they were not energetically aligned into that, the whole core of the being. Like where I live, we have empty malls, we have empty boardwalks, like businesses are just gone. People are, you know, ordering online because they don't have an experience when they go to the business. It's just the outer frame and the stuff. You can get that online. I don't need to go and get in my car and do all that. But if I'm there and I'm getting a connection and I'm getting to breathe the spirit of the business, and there's a deeper experience with that. And it doesn't need to be all that, like, oh my gosh, like it's active or something. Like it's the energy behind the business.
Yeah, well said. It's interesting that parallel with what we're seeing now with personal branding, as it's known, which basically is kind of the path that I take people on, really, which is building a business from your unique story, values, passions, and gifts, and then making you the forefront of the business. So in the past, it would have been, here's my business, it's a logo, it's a website, and you are kind of, and your team are kind of backstage a little bit in the about us section perhaps. But now it's like, for example, in my business, I am front and center. You go on my LinkedIn, it's a picture of me. I'm sure on your Facebook, for example, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
You're the face of the business, and your story is front and center. And that's the amazing thing about the time we're living in, is that you can create a business that can compete or outcompete with these big corporate brands, because people resonate more with faces than they do logos, and so it's so fulfilling when you can do that. You can create a business around that is uniquely yours, that is uniquely tailored to your story, your values, your passions. And in doing that and sharing your story, you create an emotional connection with those people that are supposed to be working with you, or that want to find you, because you really create an emotional connection and engagement through your story. And that's the amazing thing. It doesn't have to be. In the past, it would have been a business, bricks and mortar business. You had to have money behind you. You had to have a certain set of skills and knowledge. But now anyone could do it, really. If you're open to putting in the work that it takes and being committed, anybody can create a business. And so you don't have to be stuck in a career that's kind of drains your energy or leaves you feeling unfulfilled and disconnected. You can start to build something alongside your business, alongside your career, that provides you that fulfillment and that financial overflow. So it's an incredible time we're living in. But as we say, it's really important to do the inner work alongside it, because it's going to bring up, I can speak from my experience over the last 5 years, it brings up all kinds of things, all kinds of limiting beliefs and self-doubt and self-sabotaging patterns. And you can't do anything about that through taking continual action, because the source of those limiting beliefs and the self-doubt and procrastination and all that is basically a trauma held within the body. And that's what I want to go on to next, which is what does it mean? We hear about regulation. We hear about healing. We need to process these limitations on the inside. But what would you say about that, Kirsi? Somebody who's quite new to this work. What does it mean to heal ourselves? What does it mean to emotionally regulate? And what are some of the practices we can integrate into our lives to help us with that?
Yeah, well, of course it looks different with different people. It just depends on where a person is when they start. For example, I mean, we have so many protective mechanisms that people use around themselves. Like, I know a lot of women, for example, and men too, we keep ourselves busy. So we have the business of life around us. And, like for a mother, for example, with children, it's a great excuse, like I don't have time. I don't have time to stop. What do you mean? Like you got to keep going, but it's really the slowing down of the outer activities, giving yourself time to stop, look, and listen within. And that's where I would start, to ask myself that how does it feel for me to just stop everything and listen to myself, listen to my emotions, listen to where I am. What happens when I stop? What happens when I just say to myself, I'm going to sit here in quietness and just listen to my room? I'm going to create
That is terrifying for a lot of people, though. The idea of just being with nothing, no distraction, just being with yourself. I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. It's like they're just terrified of that idea.
Yeah. And think of a mother, who's never done this before and who has maybe 3 kids, like, what do you mean? I don't even have the time to go to the bathroom, and stop. So it takes about creating that space, like you got to step up and create that space. Like I created it when I had my 4 kids. They were small. I just started waking up 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning. And what that meant was I was committed to, before they woke up, couple of hours before they were up, I was already up. And whatever happened after that, when I got tired and how I would deal with that, that was then another problem. I would not even think about that. My first thing was get my own time, stop, look, and listen. And that alone, when you think about a bottle that has, this is clear water now, but if it has sand in it, we're in activity and all the sand is everywhere. But once you set it down, it's going to come to the bottom of it. All the dirt, all the sand, whatever is going to come to, and then you have this much clarity. You have just this much of something else, and you have clarity, and you start working with that clarity, and that's what that stopping does. We just are better people when we stop and we look and we listen, and to create that time, to ask yourself, how do I create this time? I can do it if I just intentionally approach my day like that and I put it in my schedule. And even first, if it's just like 30 minutes or 15 minutes,
Exactly.
I have to say that I needed hours.
Well, that's a great point you raised there. I mean, I hear this a lot. It's I'm just too busy. I've got, like you said, if you've got a family, if you've got a career that is, you're working basically, I mean, it's supposed to be a 9 to 5, but most people are doing sort of like an 8 till 8, something like that, so where is the time there, so I love what you said there, because it has to be the priority. I always say to people, so a lot of people, it's like, well, work is the priority, and then there's relationships, and I don't have time for anything else. But what we all need to be doing really is making sure that number one is our well-being, because everything stems from that. If we don't have that, if we don't have the emotional balance, if we don't have the the regulation, if we don't have that awareness that comes with the inner work to create well-being, then we don't have anything else really, because we'll be constantly creating from a dysregulated place, from overwhelm, and that will affect everything. It'll affect our relationships, will affect our work, our earning potential, everything. Like you said, if you get that your external reality is generated from within, I think that's the shift, isn't it? Once you get that, like if I change myself, external reality has to change to match it, rather than what most people are doing is like externally focused. If I change the world around me, I'll feel better. That doesn't work, but if you realize that, okay, my reality is generated from within, so if I change myself on the inside, external reality will change to match it. And I noticed that when I started meditating, all of a sudden it was like people that weren't in alignment with me started falling out of my life, which can be quite difficult, but new people came in that were more in resonance with this new vibration. We're going quite deep here, but if you change the way you are on the inside, it changes your vibration you emit, basically, and so people will be attracted to that, and people that aren't will fall out of your life. So I started working with and connecting with people like you, who are a much different vibration to who I met in my corporate career, who are basically just existing in overwhelm, drinking in the evening, drinking caffeine to get them through the day, and it was just kind of rinse and repeat the same pattern over and over again. And when I changed myself on the inside, started meditating, healing myself, all of a sudden different people started showing up in my life, different opportunities, different work environments, and my relationship to money changed completely. Financial overflow, these things happen when you change what's happening on the inside. And so it is important, first of all, to make that shift, to realize that is the most important work you can do in this, or for anybody in any lifetime. That's what the most important work you can do. And then it's about, okay, how can I prioritize that? How can I make sure this work is the most important thing I do every day? Like you said, can you get up early? What I'll do is in the morning, my daughter has, be with my daughter for a bit. She has her breakfast, and then she has like an hour screen time in the morning. And that's the time when I meditate. Basically, I'll do some yoga, gratitude meditation. That's my morning time. And then in the evening, once she's gone to bed, I'll do some co-regulation in community. So I'll always reach out to the community me and Kirsi are in, and I'll ask for some people to sit with me, and I'll just use that time to clear out any energy that's got built up and stuck in my system during the day. So it's like I bookend the start and the end of the day is meditation, basically just feeling into what's come up and wants to be felt for and processed. But that can look different for everybody, depending on what your routine is, depending on what else you've got going on in your life. But I think if we're all honest, we'd have at least 20 minutes, a day to stop, look, and listen, as you said, to sit with what's coming up inside.
Yes, and there is a resistance to that as well, and first we may get started, and then we're gonna hit that resistance. And that's the juicy part, is the resistance, because then we are actually working with some of our older energy that we want to clear out of the way. So it's what it comes down to me is really setting an intention, understanding the importance of what we're talking about here, understanding the importance of the inner work, because like we started, you said that it's the root of the matter. It's the source of reality. We can build different realities. I can go to another layer and start existing from one of these outer layers, and I can live my whole life like that. I can even be quiet and still not do the inner work. I can just sit and space out and look at, what's on the outside. But if I don't tune in and become intentional about my beliefs and my thoughts, my emotions, and how to tune into myself and feel and have that space for my inner world to be experienced and observed by me, then I'm still somewhere, creating out of the source.
Mm.
And a lot of times we talk about the source, and so, like the authentic person, you as an authentic person, you're somebody who's tuned in. And, I'm just starting to think about the parenthood and how we were tuned in by our parents, or we were not tuned in by our parents, and a lot of us were not. This is something that, um, I'd say 99% of the people are not tuned in because they were never tuned in by their parents, because we were never taught that. The society was helping us and teaching us to focus on the outside and those outer layers, fixing them, So this is something that we need to and get to take responsibility of ourselves. It's kind of like we call it a personal work. It's really our responsibility as a human being to become and kind of master that beingness, instead of a human doing,
Well said. Yeah, it is. It's a big shift. When you get it, when it clicks, it's so empowering. All of a sudden you realize, okay, if I want to change my life, then I just need to work on myself. And then, that's the key really with life. Once you get that, there's no stopping you. But it does take a while for it to click in for people. I like what you said there. It's something I discuss on this podcast quite a lot, but the importance of support in regulation, and particularly what you said about the kind of templates that we have growing up, because it's not our parents or our caregivers' fault, or our teachers, or our whatever our influences were growing up. It's not their fault because they're coming from the template that's been passed down to them and from society. So this kind of work is relatively new, isn't it? That people are starting to talk about meditation and yoga, particularly in the West. In the past, it was very much just like get a job and, and if you struggle, if you're feeling difficult, if something's difficult emotionally, you suck it up and you just get on with it, and this is the kind of template that was passed down. There was no template of balance and regulation. And that's why we all have a lot of work to do, isn't it? Because our parents generally haven't had that kind of template. So this is why it's so important to sit with others who have developed that template of groundedness and balance and well-being, because you can't just, I think there's a lot you can do on your own in terms of meditation, in terms of raising awareness of your conditioned thoughts, and the best place to start meditation, a lot of people get stuck because they sit and the mind is just complete chaos and they're just lost in thought the whole time. They go, well, this is too difficult, I can't do it, obviously it's not for me. There's a big shift there that you can just kind of go, okay, can I listen to the thoughts? And what I find is that when I start teaching people meditation is, if you just go, okay, I'm just going to sit here and listen to my thoughts, what you'll find is that very quickly they go quiet. Because it's only when we're kind of lost in the thoughts that they have the energy behind them and they just keep going round and round and round and round. When we're identifying with the thoughts, when we think that we are the thoughts, they think that it's us thinking. When we start to listen to the thought process, you actually find that the thoughts go quiet very quickly, because you've taken the energy out from the rug out from underneath them, if you like. There's no energy behind them anymore. So that's an important shift, for anyone who's just starting to meditate. The other aspect that I want to add to that is what can happen when you have support with you when you go into meditation. I meditate on my own every morning, but in the evenings, I sit with as many different people as possible. Because in my experience, it's only when our body feels connected and supported, that it can begin to relax and let go. The body can relax, and then the mind can start to unwind when it feels like it's got that support. Because often our traumas are created when we don't feel we've got connection and support. For example, we've been feeling a certain way, angry, for example, or upset, and our parent or caregiver hasn't learned to sit with their own anger or sadness, and so there's no emotion. It might be there physically, but there's no emotional connection when we're feeling something like that. And so as a result, we kind of push the emotion away because we haven't had that template, that safety there for us to express or feel through emotions. So this is why it's so important, especially early on. And I think, to be honest, for the rest of my life, I'll be sitting with people who are regulated and grounded, especially early on, to have somebody who can sit with you and to provide that container of support. I just wonder, what's your experience of that, Kirsi? Because I imagine you've experienced the same. It's so important to have people with us who have worked on themselves to a point where they can provide a safe space for emotions to be expressed and released.
Yeah. So I started the inner work when I was in my 20s, early 20s. And I did not know anything about co-regulation. I wasn't in this work as we are today, and as I started like 6 years ago. So a lot of the work that I did first was really like personal, just going in personally, and I only could get so far with that. And then I did start. I went into like the church and co-regulation during a worship, for example. That became my co-regulation, and it really worked for a long time to a certain point. And after that, I needed to start having, like, there was the missing piece of really going in and having a personal co-regulator, that, because that's another layer of trust. Like, a person can be in a church and, for example, or religion, let's call it religion, or presence of this, like a how would I call it? Like a map where you can share beliefs and values, and you can be in that kind of community, and you can feel co-regulated. Like, a lot of times I would be upset or stressed out, and I would go to church and do, be in that environment, and I'd calm down, and that's why I kept going. So that was a co-regulating experience for me. However, it would only go so deep. So the deepest level that I have begun to experience the co-regulation is with another person, with one person, and it's so powerful, and that helps us to really land within ourselves instead of landing into some kind of a like a society where I can feel like, hey, I'm one with them. How about being one with me? One, just me to me, and then there's that one person who's reflecting that in that quietness. I'm not sure if that answered your question. But I really started thinking about, like, you said that this is something that our parents have not learned about. It's kind of new. Well, really, when Nikola Tesla talked about the frequency, Einstein, there's Bob Proctor, all of these great teachers have been talking about this, but it's been oppressed.
Yes.
Jesus talked about it. I mean, Jesus was, his message is and was the kingdom of God is within you. And the man is as he thinks. So this is a very deep and profound statement, because what are your thoughts? Then you are your thoughts. But if we never tune in to listen and understand our thoughts, the deepest thoughts, the subconsciousness, what goes on in there, what are the waves, what is the frequency, then we don't understand, why our life looks like it does. Then we'll always find reasons for it on the outside, but the real reason is in the inside. So but then the religion and the society teaches us, well, just go and worship God, go to church and worship God, and know that he, there's a great judge over there. That's not true. That is not true at all. It is all on the outside, and the teachings of these great teachers of the past, and they have told us that it's all in the inside. Everything is in the inside, and to be able to sit with that, truly, we do need that co-regulation, because we need a witness. We need a witness that we exist, and I cannot exist within myself profoundly if I don't have that witness. And that witness doesn't mean they need to know anything about me. They don't need to know anything about me. They just need to be with me.
Yes.
Just be. Yeah.
It's more of a feeling, isn't it? Rather than, it's not like traditional coaching. It's like, well, I'll tell you the solution, I'll ask you questions. But what we're talking about here is a lot of my sessions now with my longer clients, we are just sat in silence in this place of co-regulation, which seemed, for some people, probably seems mad that you'd work with a coach and pay a coach just to sit with you in silence. But this is always where the most powerful work is done. Which is through the intuition rather than intellect. I always say, so no one another person could really tell you what you should do or has all the answers for you, because I don't know your unique experience. I haven't had your unique experience. What I can do is direct you to your own intuitive wisdom. Like literally, we'll bring the mind to rest. We'll go into the body, and then I'll ask the question. What should you do in this situation? And just feed into the answer. And often the person has the answer within themselves. And that lands so much deeper than if you had somebody else tell you what to do. So it is a big shift. I also like what you said. Oh, go on, Kirsi, go on.
No, I was going to say that not just anyone, are able to sit with you. They enable for somebody to hold space, like we call it, or sit with you to be the mirror of just being. That means that they have done some inner work themselves. They have the ability to sit in their body, the presence of their body, not in their mind, but in the presence of their body. And for the person to just sit there in the presence of their body, they have to have some kind of a co-regulated space within themselves in able to do that. And like you, Mar, you wouldn't just sit with anybody. You're looking for a person that can hold your template. Like if you're very upset, you're going to reach out to somebody that that's been sitting with themselves and regulated themselves. And even if I was that person, but if I'm having a bad moment myself, or a bad moment, dysregulated moment, maybe something just happened, I cannot offer that space for you because I'm under-resourced myself. So we talk about being resourced, being regulated yourself, and then you can you can offer that regulation to another person. Same with the parent and a child. Parents are not always in that space where we are regulated. And that's a good thing to understand, because then when we don't feel regulated, we understand that, okay, I'm going to have to do something about this. I need to take a break, or I need to ask for somebody else to step in for this problem, or I need to just, wait till I deal with it, And yeah, and those kind of things, they come with the, know yourself. They come with the knowing yourself comes with that time that you spend with yourself without any external things going on. No TVs, no phones, no books, no nothing. Just quietness and sitting with yourself. You start learning your own template, like you're saying. So it's really like another world, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. It's so exciting, isn't it, Mark?
There's always more that to be revealed, and it's amazing, really, how life can get so much better by just working on the inside. Just literally, all you're doing is sitting with the really uncomfortable, difficult emotions. I mean, this is the core of shadow work, isn't it? Which is just basically, can you face your darker side? But essentially all that means is you're sitting with the really painful and difficult emotions. And as you do that, you're processing all of this low vibration on an energetic level. You're processing the low vibrational energy, which raises your vibration, which means that you then external reality changes to match it. So you're experiencing all high vibration reality, which all energetically, all that means is just you attract, you're basically attracting what you emit, like that. The energetic signal that you're giving out is coming back to you. It's very, very simple when you get it. But this is the core, really, like you say, it doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how much money you've earned or where you are and how much status you've got. You're going to have times where you feel under-resourced and overwhelmed. That's just part of the human experience. And if you just try and deal with that on your own, it's very difficult and almost impossible to regulate yourself when you're dysregulated. So you've had an argument with a spouse, so you've had some bad news, a bill comes in, or a business collapses, or something happens and it just upsets your nervous system. You try and regulate yourself on your own, I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. But if you sit with someone else, 15, 20 minutes, someone who is in a grounded place, your system will template theirs and you'll come back into a regulated place much, much faster than you would if you worked on your own. And just coming back to, just want to bring this back to business and entrepreneurship. This is the thing, is that people are building businesses and careers from dysregulation. From this place of being overwhelmed and it's fight or flight. And I see it so often on LinkedIn. There's lots of very successful entrepreneurs on there who have created amazing external abundance, big teams, a big company. But, some of them are very honest about their experience and they are living from overwhelm, basically. They're traveling all over the world. They've got big teams. They're hardly sleeping. They're not looking after themselves. And so this is a person who has just basically pushed themselves to external success, probably from actually a trauma of some kind, which is just feeling of not good enough. So I had to just kind of build more and more and more and more and more to feel good enough within. And actually they created a life for themselves that doesn't serve them, that actually is creating more dysregulation for them the whole time. But external reality, other people are reflecting back to them, oh, you're an amazing success. How did you do it? How did you create this financial abundance? How did you create this business success? Whereas actually their lives are in complete dysfunctional and dysregulation, So this is why it's important to reframe this idea of success. Success isn't just the money you've got in your bank and the size of your business that you've built. It's how you feel. And so, this is why you've always got to check in with your own intuition. What does a successful life look like and feel like to me? And for most people, it isn't. You don't need loads and loads of money. You don't need a massive business. You don't need a huge team. What you need is to get really clear on a life and a lifestyle that works for you. So I'm always saying to people, optimize for lifestyle rather than revenue. Just have an idea of what a successful life looks like to you. For me, it isn't being on constant Zoom calls all day. It isn't managing a massive team of people. It's having plenty of space in my life for the internal healing practices. That's my most powerful my most important commitment, then having lots of time to spend with my wife and daughter and my wider family, and then having clients that I'm really aligned with. So it doesn't need to be like a 7-figure business. It just needs to be something that supports me in creating that lifestyle. And I guess you'd say the same, Kirsi, as well. Like if you find that regulation within, then when you build a business, it's something that actually suits you, actually fits for you, rather than somebody else's idea of success, which probably is not going to serve you.
Yeah, and I guess, it comes down to what do you want to be? Do you want to be the human being or the human doing? What
Yeah.
comes first? And I know for us, we want to be the human being and be connected within and be connected with our family and have, a lot of, I love to have a lot of just time of where like today, I have a couple of things that I want to get done today. Those couple of things will take me maybe altogether 2 or 3 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. And the rest of my day is I'm curious what is going to happen, what's going to unfold. And I get to observe it from the beingness, and it can be a inspired action that just rises up, and I may have a completely different thing that shows up but there's a couple of things I know I will be focusing on.
What you want to do.
But it's like the internal landscape that we create. Like you said, you want to have a business that has a lot of peace and connection with family and room around, and it's going to be sustained by the activity because you have set that intention and those are your values, and that's what you have created internally. And it does look and feel different. And you, as a person, look and feel different within it all because you are centered within yourself. And, versus a person who has a different outlook on life. So, yeah.
That's it. We've got to create a life that works for us, and a business that works for us, not the other way around. We're kind of like slaves to this. We're slaves in like a career working for somebody else, and then people build a business and they become the slave to the business. Where it's just kind of like,
Exactly.
it just takes over their lives, and they've got no time for no breathing time. So, I think a lot of that comes from getting clear on your own intuition, like what feels like a yes, rather than what somebody tells you to do. Or you have a business, people out there who tell you what a successful business is. And actually, if you check in with yourself, that's not what feels right for you. But a lot of people get pulled, I think, into creating this thing that because other people are telling them, "Oh, you need infinite growth. You need to be in this much a month. You need to have this big team to be, or this amount of followers to be deemed successful." If you actually check in with yourself, actually, what is a yes for me? What feels right for me, and build from that. That's the perfect foundation to maintain that alignment as you grow.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a great conversation to have, is something that definitely more and more people are realizing, because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're not going to get different results. And right now, people are stressed, they're overwhelmed, they're overworked, and we have been pushed to this model for a century, and so it's a generational thing, and we get to just do life differently if that is what is not working for us. So, and that's what we're talking about.
I think that's a perfect way to end things on. Anywhere you'd like to point people to, they'd like to hear more about what you do, Kirsi, at the moment? Or I know you're kind of in a bit of flux at the moment between two businesses, but
yeah. So I began this beginning of the year. I began running a couple of courses, a step into the dream you, and now the second one, level 2 step with the dream you. And right now, I just finished one of my courses, and how people can connect with me for the next steps is through my Facebook. I've taken down my websites for right now because they're going through a construction, and I have been connecting with people through my Facebook. And there's going to be a podcast, and I'm going to actually run my level 1 program in a shorter version, a free attendance kind of, podcast type of kind of thing, in the near future. So if anybody is interested how to step into the dream you using these tools that we have talked about and this perspective in life that we have talked about, then come and check it out, and you can find out more through my Facebook.
Perfect. There'll be I'll link Kirsi's Facebook in the description down below. And as usual, my site, thebuddhaspot.com, my purpose alignment assessment in there, so you can see exactly how aligned you are right now with purpose, the inner and the external. It's a great place to start, as well as others free resources on there as well. But for today, that was beautiful. Thanks so much, Kirsi. Love these conversations, love our chats, and I'm sure we'll connect again soon.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for all the listeners.
Thanks all. Bye for now.
Bye.